There are a few things in this life that can teach us a more swift and absolute lesson in priorities than a health crisis. On today's show, I welcome Doug and Kim Bianchi. They share their experiences since Doug woke up paralyzed from the waist down last March. They talk about the lessons they've learned about each other, about themselves, their friendships, and their community. Thank you for being here, Doug. I've been wanting to talk to you for quite a while. I've visited with you at your vineyard and the winery, Kim as well. She'll join us at the end of the show. But thanks for being willing to be here and share your story with us.
Yeah, I appreciate being here too. Thanks.
That's your lovely vineyard behind you.
Part of it.
Part of it. Just a part of it. Well, let's get started from the beginning. I've heard bits and pieces through Kim and our mutual friends, and then you and I have talked directly, but I just want for people who might be going through a health challenge out there, as you and I have talked about off air, that you just want to be able to help people who might be going through something and give them some hope and some encouragement. So let's start from the beginning. You'd been having some numbness in your legs for about a year, but on March 9th, everything really caught up with you.
Right. I'm a regular dude. I thought I had a pinched nerve in my back and a little bit of numbness in my leg, and we'll take care of it at some point. But it just kept growing and growing. And then March 9th of this year, I literally woke up in the morning and I was paralyzed from the waist down.
Let's talk about that moment, because there's not many people who have any such experience. So did you right away think, okay, this numbness in my legs led to this, or were you completely caught? Obviously you didn't think it would lead to paralysis, but were you having some increased numbness in the days before, or was it just sudden like that?
It was growing. Yeah, it was growing to where it was getting extremely hard to walk. My left leg was shutting down. And but I really didn't expect to wake up and be paralyzed. So yeah, that was a shock.
What happened that morning then? So you wake up and tell us what happened.
So I woke up and realized I was paralyzed, and there's a lot of things that go through your mind, And so I would say it took me about 10 minutes to go through a mental process. The mental process for me was, oh my God, I'm paralyzed. What am I going to do with this? How is this going to affect my life? Poor me, and all that. And then finally come to the realization that, all right, if this is the way it's going to be, then what am I going to do with it? How can I, what can I do with it? Can I make this a positive? Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do now. So
all that in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And so was there any thought in your mind that this is permanent? Is this temporary? I mean, obviously you're getting yourself to a hospital at this point. Did you have any thoughts about that, or you're just trying to take it a moment at a time?
I still thought it was, I wasn't sure, but it was kind of funny because my first call was to the wheelchair rental company to see if I get a wheelchair, and then call a friend and just put me in a wheelchair. We'll figure this out later, or even just prop me up in the corner. We'll figure it out.
So not call an ambulance, Kim, I'm paralyzed.
No. And the only friend that I could get a hold of quickly was someone who was extremely sensitive. I mean, I couldn't tell him no when he said, Doug, we need to get you to the emergency room. And so we called an ambulance. They came pick me up, took me to Confluence, and they did an MRI. And they said, hey, you've got a tumor on your spinal cord. So that was a bit of a shock. And then they also said, well, we've called University of Washington Medical. They said to fly you over immediately, and they're going to prep for emergency surgery. So
sitting you up in a corner and dealing with this later was not an option, obviously.
Yeah, suddenly I realized it was a bigger deal than I thought.
So you made the
So
right call to the right friend, I think.
I think so. It worked out that way.
When you when you look back at it now, um, you couldn't have known the things that you were facing or what you'd go through. One of the things that you've shared with me in our conversations over the year is over these months is that you had been experiencing dis-ease, you know,
Right.
some real discontentment with things in your career and things in your life, and you feel like that might be a contributor. Would you share a bit about that?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in our mental state. And um, I've watched a few people go through being in a state of dis-ease and actually bringing on disease.
Mhm.
And so I recognize that I was in that state for about a 4-year period with things that I was going through in my life, trying to get entangled from previous business, etc. And I even shared with Kim a couple of years ago. I said, "Look, I feel like I'm in a state of dis-ease, and I'm worried about it. I'm concerned about that."
What it could lead to.
And I no sooner got untangled from the things I was worried about, and bam, this hits me, right?
Mhm.
So, believing that, I also believe that I can mentally contribute to my well-being, getting out of my situation.
Mhm. When I was diagnosed with cancer at 24, it was one of the hardest years of my life leading up to it, because we'd lost my father-in-law, my late husband's father, and there was just no room for my grief. And it was a very difficult time in our marriage. And I remember thinking, I just want to go home to my family in California, rest, and be taken care of for a while, because I was taking care of everything. Um, and sure enough, I went home to California for Christmas, my husband and I was diagnosed with cancer, and I was home with my family, and I was resting, and I was being taken care of. Now, would I have wished that to be the path? But I believe in what you're saying, in that the things that I was going through sure didn't help me navigate. They definitely contributed to where I ended up, I think, physically. And I, like you, believe just as strongly that I could have a role in that recovery, and hopefully living many, many years with a change in my attitude. So
Mhm.
26 years later, here I am.
Yeah.
And so I relate to a lot of what you're saying, for sure. And I
The
think
other
there's a lot of
thing,
people watching who are probably in that disease thinking they got to get out of it. And you're a testament to doing that work.
I think there's a lot of people in a state of dis-ease that don't look at it like that. They don't look at it like they really do have the power to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk about the community and the community that rallied for you. You still have an orchard to run, or a vineyard to run, a
Right.
vineyard to run, and a business. And I just want to talk about how the community has really rallied for you. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about that.
Sounds good.
Doug, you were talking about when this first happened, your first thought was, I got to get a wheelchair, or someone just prop me up in a corner. And then you go to UW, you find out at Confluence that you have this tumor, and then you go to UW for this emergency surgery. Tell us what happened from there.
Well, what happened from there is, you start to wonder, how am I gonna get everything done? I mean, we had bottling to do, we're behind. We're a small winery, so things can go sideways real fast. Not having enough inventory, etc. But what happened immediately is that I had a friend call and say, "Hey, where's the staples for the taping gun for the vineyard, and where's this and where's that?" And it was just out of the blue. I didn't ask anybody. They just call me up and want to know where the tools are to get things done. And I thought that was pretty impressive because, I mean, for one, I kind of go through life, I've gone through life thinking, nobody really cares about your problems, right? But that was when I started to learn that people really do.
Mhm.
And I've really learned what community is about through this process.
Well, and you and Kim, your wife Kim, who will be joining us at the end of the show, it speaks to your care of the community too, and your interaction with people. And I think that sometimes I can imagine you're not a guy who would have asked for much help,
It's
but
hard for me to ask for help.
Mhm.
I don't want to ask or tell people to do something that I won't do myself. And if I can't do it, that makes it extremely difficult. I've never been there before.
So now you're currently. I want to talk about that scooter you have there, and I'm going to show a clip of you receiving that gift.
Brittany's got some champagne for you out here.
What's this all about?
We love you. We want you to be able to go up and down that ramp and help us out.
Oh, look at that thing.
You can get down into the vines now.
Did you have any idea that that was happening? You looked surprised. Did you have any inkling?
No, they completely did it without my authorization.
Without your authorization.
But it just goes to show you, how this community is. And Jordan Jessup headed up the fundraiser for that, and they went and purchased that scooter, and I was completely blown away.
And does that then enable you to get down into the vineyard where before the chair you had, you couldn't? How much has
Yeah,
that
the
helped your
problem that I'm
mobility?
having is insurance covers a wheelchair, but a wheelchair that'll get you around a hardwood floor in the house, but it won't hardly get you out to the vehicle in a gravel driveway. It's certainly not going to get you in the vineyard. And so the scooter that they purchased, that thing goes to the vineyard with authority. And it completely opens up my world. So yeah.
When I have visited your vineyard and the winery at different times throughout this last year, that's the part that really bothered me the most when I would see you and see that you couldn't be down. I mean, how can you not be in your grapes? How can you not, aside from the work you want to do, how can you not touch and feel the soil that you helped create?
Yeah.
So that when I saw that video, I'm sure like everyone, we just, it's all the welling up of emotion and happiness for you that you have that ability to get around. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I I love projects and I get excited about projects, and I'll look out the window and, oh yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to do this. And then I think, oh, wait a second, I can't do that. So I
Right.
haven't really made the mental connection that initially in my thought process, that I can't do certain things.
And how do you turn that to the positive that you were hoping this would be for you? Where is the lesson? Where are some of the greatest lessons you found? It is in accepting the limitation, finding other ways to make an impact. What is the lesson you're learning, or what are some of the key
Well,
lessons?
there's quite a few. I mean, it's a humbling experience.
Mhm.
Um, not sure about the lesson as far as not being able to do the work. The only thing I can think of is that um, there's a greater appreciation for being able to do what we do, whatever that may be, and not being able to fulfill what we want to do, what our desires are, what our projects are. That's extremely humbling. I can
And where
say.
are you at now with your diagnosis and where you're at? And, people are, I've told some of our friends you were going to be on the show, and some of them don't see you all the time. And people in our community know of your plight and are concerned for you going forward.
So the diagnosis now is I've learned that I truly am special because because when they initially did the surgery, they could not remove the tumor because it was embedded and wrapped within the spinal cord. In fact, the doctor said he's never seen anything like it. He even said it looked old. Maybe it was an old injury or something, who knows, but they could barely get a sample out of it.
Mm.
So now, months later, being that this tumor-like growth has expanded slightly, they're able to get another sample, and so we're waiting for a diagnosis. But initially, it's been testing negative, so we're not real sure. And that was the struggle before, is there's no diagnosis. There's a growth. It's not cancerous, it's not lymphoma, but it's a growth of something, right?
And it's difficult to get to. So it's staying put for now.
Right.
Mhm.
So hopefully we can
Mhm.
get a diagnosis, but
Yeah.
if it's growing, obviously we've got to put a stop to it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm into that.
I'm into that. Well, I just I wish you all the best, and I hope that your wheels make you happy, and just knowing that so many people care about you. And before Kim comes on, anything you'd like to say to her through this opportunity?
Yeah, I've got a couple things. Number one is when it comes to the community, the community that we're here, that we have here, is unbelievable. It is completely blown me away. The support, and people always say, "Hey, give me a call. Let me know if you need some help." It's like, yeah, whatever. But they truly mean it. I mean, they really want to, and the people that have helped us have been, it's a huge number. And as far as Kimberly goes, this has been a struggle for her. It's been laid in her lap. Um, and I it's a huge test for anybody. You'll find out what you're made out of, whether you're in my situation or hers. And she's truly been a rock star. And we both had our struggles from time to time, but I can say she's been unbelievable in this process.
Well, I would second that. Thank you for being here. We're going to talk to her in just a minute when we come back. I wish you the best.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Lisa.
Kim, I also wanted to share your side of things as a caregiver. I've been a patient and a caregiver, and I think sometimes being the caregiver can be a little more challenging sometimes because you feel helpless, right? You want to fix things that maybe aren't fixable quite yet. So just wanted you to speak to your point of view of things and maybe that'll offer encouragement to others, just the relatability.
Yeah. Well, you find yourself in a state of the unknown because you have never gone through this experience before. So then you have, like I would have to say, I started out with shock because I wasn't there when this happened. I was actually visiting my son in Tennessee. So I got the phone call, Kim, I'm going to be airlifted to the University of Washington. And so all those hours of, fearfulness, what's happening. And then of course, then you're in the care of all the doctors and the nurses. And it was amazing treatment that we were serviced there. But it was when you got home, that's when the big shocker was, because it's like, okay, now what? You don't have all the ADA, the bathrooms and all the equipment that they utilize there for him to make it comfortable for him. So anyway, there was a lot of sadness, and I would be upset because it's like, okay, I'm your caregiver, but yet I'm I don't feel like I'm the best caregiver. And then he would be the one picking me off the floor because I would be in these emotions of up and down, and he'd always raise me up, give me the hope that we're going to make it through. So
And do
I
you
love
feel
him for that.
like there have been times in the last months when there's a volley of strength, right? Like you're saying, there's times that he's lifting you up. There's times that you're lifting him up. Where has the community come in this for you?
Oh boy, that lights a huge smile on my face with the servers that work for us. I've got girls that rally, for me. Just, Kim, don't worry about the business. We got it for you. We'll take care of this. And then it's like, okay, at least that relief is off my shoulders. But then I also have some great, just my girlfriends checking in on you. How you doing today? Just, it's okay to cry. Call me if you want to cry. So I have that support too. Love of friends.
And so you had to rush back and get back here to him, obviously, from wherever you were, from where you were visiting in Tennessee. And, one thing I think caregivers face sometimes is the challenge of getting the patient to be okay with being a patient sometimes, to listen to the doctors, to listen to you, and I'm not speaking to Doug specifically, I'm speaking to lots of experience I've had with patients and their caregivers. And where is the balance for you? Where do you think, sometimes it's hard to draw the line between I'm the nurse kind of caregiver and I'm the wife.
Oh yeah. I don't even know where that line is, Lisa. It's still hard for me. I've recently connected with, her name's Danny Utley, Mike Utley's wife, who he became a paraplegic 30 some years ago. But anyway, so she did say that it's very important in a relationship for me to be his wife, and that I can't be reminding him, daily, you drink your water, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, because that will do some harm, right? So I just have to be aware of that. I don't have to be a nurse all the time. I can be a loving wife and, hug him, and that's what he needs. Right. That's going to help him through his days.
Well, thank you both for coming on and sharing your side of the story. And I know our community will be happy to see you here. So I appreciate you trusting me with it. I really do. I've looked forward to talking to you both for a long time.
All right. We appreciate you. Thanks.
Take care.